Hello everyone, I'm David Roberts, and I'm joined by Senior Social Editor Anthony John Agnello.
What up?
And we are here today to talk about Final Fantasy.
From its humble beginnings in 1987, Final Fantasy has since blossomed into a ridiculous multimedia empire. Yes, there are still main numbered entries like the upcoming Final Fantasy XV, but there are also spin-offs, reboots, side stories, sequels, freaking bottled drinks that look like Drano and taste like Robitussin mixed with hate. There are even movies. Donald Sutherland was in one, and they wasted it. That happened.
Yeah, it turns out that Final Fantasy is an increasingly inaccurate name, as there are dozens of games out there that bear the name, spanning a wide range of genres and platforms. And it's becoming really hard to keep track of what's what. So we've decided to run through the list of basically every single Final Fantasy game ever made and explain them to you in 10 words or less.
Now, we have left out the compilations and ports, focusing instead on games that made it out of Japan. Otherwise, we would be here all day rattling off Chocobo's Dungeon games, and no one wants that.
And needless to say, there will probably be some spoilers throughout. You ready, Anthony?
Oh, yes.
Alright, let's dive in. Final Fantasy.
The classic.
Final Fantasy II.
The not-so-classic.
Final Fantasy III.
The first game to introduce job classes. It's good.
Final Fantasy IV.
Those wizards came from the moon. The whale did too.
Final Fantasy IV, The After Years.
An episodic sequel made 18 years later. Sure, why not? Has moon stuff.
Final Fantasy V.
Butts and the Birds Wild Ride.
Final Fantasy VI.
A lot can happen after the end of the world.
Final Fantasy VII.
Ridiculous Swordman wants his mommy.
Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII.
Hot Topic patron / fiction.
Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII.
Actually cool as everyone said Zack was in Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII Snowboarding.
Refreshing mountain air on a flip phone.
Final Fantasy VIII.
The best episode of Dawson's Creek ever.
Final Fantasy IX.
Tail Guy fights the Somebodies for love and profit.
Final Fantasy X.
It was all a dream.
Final Fantasy X-2.
I used to read Crazy Dress-Up Fighting magazine.
Final Fantasy XI.
Turns out Final Fantasy works pretty well as an MMO.
Final Fantasy XII.
Medieval Star Wars, but way sexier.
Final Fantasy XII, Revenant Wings.
Pirate kids make too many monster friends.
Final Fantasy XIII.
Gorgeously stupid.
Final Fantasy XIII-2.
Makes even less sense, but has pet clothing.
Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII.
Lightning's on a mission from God. Plays dress-up, kills God.
Final Fantasy Type 0.
War and high school are both hell.
Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn.
First it sucked, and now it's great!
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Turn-based Final Fantasy Game of Thrones.
Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced.
Same, but with kids.
Final Fantasy Tactics A2, Grimoire of the Rift.
Exact same thing again, but now the kid has a ball sword.
Chocobo's Dungeon 2.
Bird meets girl in a cave. It's nice.
Chocobo Racing.
Bird on rocket skates versus car-driving NYPD mitochondria powers lady.
Final Fantasy Fables, Chocobo Tales.
You know, for kids.
Final Fantasy Fables, Chocobo's Dungeon.
Chocobo roguelike. It's fine. It's fun.
Chocobo's Crystal Tower.
Final Fantasy Farmville on Facebook. Also, it doesn't exist anymore.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
I'm not carrying that, you carry that.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Ring of Fates.
DS Friend Code Nightmare Edition.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, My Life as a King.
Simmy Simmy Bang Bang.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, My Life as a Dark Lord.
Evil Simmy Simmy Bang Bang.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Echoes of Time.
Maybe we and DS crossplay work. Nope.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, The Crystal Bearers.
So broken, so rad, best coat.
Crystal Defenders.
Budget Final Fantasy Tactics.
Crystal Defenders, Vanguard Storm.
Mobile budget Final Fantasy Tactics, but better.
Dissidia, Final Fantasy.
The gang's all here and they can fly.
Dissidia 012 Final Fantasy.
The gang's back, and their campaign is inscrutable.
The Final Fantasy Legend.
Not actually Final Fantasy.
The Final Fantasy Legend 2.
Not actually Final Fantasy II Cthulhu Boogaloo.
The Final Fantasy Legend 3.
Not actually, we get it.
Final Fantasy Adventure.
Actually a Secret of Mana prequel.
Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
Final Fantasy for babies.
Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light.
Final Fantasy for nostalgic masochists.
Final Fantasy Dimensions.
Final Fantasy for people who have exhausted all other options.
THEATRYTHM Final Fantasy.
A neat little rhythm game with great Final Fantasy tunes.
THEATRYTHM Final Fantasy Curtain Call.
Same, but with all the songs.
Final Fantasy Airborne Brigade.
Final Fantasy Dungeons, but bad and no longer exists.
Final Fantasy All the Bravest.
Absolute garbage, simply the worst.
Final Fantasy Record Keeper.
Free-to-play NES battles with Cloud, Gao, and Fran. Actually kind of good.
Final Fantasy Explorers.
Combine Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy, make it boring.
Final Fantasy Brave Exvius.
Literally came out while we were making this video. If you dig this feature and want to hear us rant more about Final Fantasy, follow GamesRadar at youtube.com/GamesRadar.